Local, how we doing? How we doing tonight? You guys good? Good. Hey, here's what I want you to do. I want you to look at the person next to you. Find someone next to you. I want you to give them a high five first, okay? Give them a high five. We're starting with good vibes tonight. And then I want you to tell them, you look good tonight. You look good. All the people that don't have someone, you look good. I got you. I got you. I got you. Now, turn to your second choice. That may be awkward for some of you. Turn to someone else, and I want you to tell them, I promise I didn't forget about you. I promise. I promise, I promise. All those people, I didn't forget about you either. I didn't forget about you. Hey, it's so good to be with you. If you have not got the chance to meet yet, my name is Isaac Sladen. I get to serve as one of the youth pastors here on staff at High Street. We are honored that you are here. I'm pumped to spend a Tuesday night with you. And tonight, we're talking about spiritual gifts, okay? So if you're taking notes, I want you to write that down. Spiritual gifts, and I'm pumped to be with you. I'm actually super motivated because right before I got up on stage, my grandma must have the spiritual gift of motivation because she's here tonight. And she looked at me and she said, "Spank that devil," okay? And so I'm hyped right now. I'm like, let's go, Grandma, come on now. Let's go. So tonight, we're talking about spiritual gifts, okay? And now, here's the deal. I don't know where you're at on spiritual gifts. Maybe you've never heard of them before. Maybe you have some questions. The goal for tonight is this. It's to bring clarity to what are spiritual gifts. How do I know what spiritual gifts I have? How do I use my spiritual gifts in my life? The goal for tonight is to bring clarity and kind of look at spiritual gifts kind of at like a 30,000 foot view. What does the Bible say? What do we need to know? Okay, so that's the goal. Now, here's what I need you to know. God does not want you to be confused about spiritual gifts. He is not the God of confusion. He wants to bring clarity to this area of your life. And there's a lot of places in the Bible that talk about spiritual gifts. And 1 Corinthians 12 says this. If you're taking notes, we're going to be in a few different verses tonight. I want you to write that reference down. 1 Corinthians 12:1 would say this. Now, dear brothers and sisters, regarding your question about special abilities, that's what the NLT translation, other translations would say spiritual gifts that God gives us, I don't want you to misunderstand this. So the guy that wrote this book of the Bible, his name is Paul. He is just an early church leader, one of the most famous missionaries of all time, wrote a lot of the Bible that you would read, specifically a lot of the New Testament. He would say, hey, listen, God does not want you to be confused about spiritual gifts. I also need you to know this too. Spiritual gifts are good. Spiritual gifts are good. They are a good thing. Write these references down. I want you to see these. 1 Corinthians 14 verse 1 would say this. Eagerly desire gifts of the Spirit. Eagerly desire. Romans 12:6 says this. Having gifts that differ according to the grace given to us, talking about spiritual gifts. The ending, I want you to underline this, highlight this, do whatever you got to do, says this, let us use them well. The Bible encourages us, hey, spiritual gifts are good. We should desire these things in our life, and then it encourages us to use those well. It's also super, super important to know what spiritual gifts are not, okay? We're gonna talk a lot about what spiritual gifts are. Again, how do I know what my spiritual gifts are? How do I use them in my life? Super, super important to know what they're not. And spiritual gifts are not just natural talent that you have, because natural talent benefits you on just a natural level. Spiritual gifts help benefit your life on a supernatural level. Right? Let's say you're talented at basketball. So the goal for you tonight is not to walk out of here saying, sweet, praise God, I'm able to hoop now. Like, that's my spiritual gift. Like, that's not the point. They're not just natural talent. Spiritual gifts are also not something to be afraid of. Spiritual gifts are not something to be avoided. Spiritual gifts are not just for pastors and people that work at churches. Spiritual gifts don't make somebody like spiritually better than or spiritually elite. Spiritual gifts are good. And I truly believe as we look at what God's word says tonight that he has something for you. The goal is to see, man, if you're a follower of Jesus in the room, God has supernaturally gifted you to help push his kingdom forward. And so what are spiritual gifts? Here's what I want to do. I want to give you a definition, and I want to encourage you, write this down. It's kind of longer and detailed, but it's good for us to get a good handle on what spiritual gifts are. I want you to write this down. Spiritual gifts are this: a supernatural ability given by God to followers of Jesus, so together they can serve God, serve each other in a way they couldn't do on their own. I'm gonna read it again. Spiritual gifts, what are they? They're a supernatural ability given by God to followers of Jesus so that they together, collectively, can serve God and serve each other in a way that they could not do on their own. Again, spiritual gifts aren't just natural talent. They're different. They're different. They're given to you by God for the service of God, not the service of you. They're for the service of God. And before we go any further, I just gotta say this, but before we keep going, as we talk about spiritual gifts tonight, this might seem a little confusing or maybe even a little bit cloudy if you don't know who Jesus is. Because spiritual gifts won't make sense if you haven't received the ultimate gift, which is salvation through Jesus. Spiritual gifts may seem a little fuzzy and cloudy if you haven't accepted the ultimate gift of salvation through Jesus. And why do we need that? Well, we need that because we're sinful people. We need a Savior. Our sin, your sin, my sin, it separates us from God. Not just right now, but because of that sin, we earn eternal separation from God in a real place called hell. But He loved you enough that He didn't want that to be your reality. And that's why Jesus came. To die for, be in your place for that sin that separates you from God. So that if we turn from our sin and put our faith and trust in Him and His finished work on the cross, we get to accept the free gift of salvation. And again, that's where these spiritual gifts start, is when you become a follower of Jesus. Not for you, but to serve Him. It's also super important to remember, people have different gifts, okay? Yeah, we rolling with this? Let's go, Unc. Let's give it up for Unc. Yeah, that's way better. Give it up for Unc. Everybody's got different gifts. It's super important to remember. Everyone has different gifts. And as I was thinking about this, me and my wife, Taylor, were about to celebrate 1 year of marriage actually on Sunday. And so, yeah, let's go. I love you, Taylor. I love that. So as I was thinking about this, I asked her, I was like, okay, we've been married for almost a year. You know me, like, what are some things I'm gifted in? But what are some things I'm obviously not gifted in, okay? Because we're gifted in things, but we're also not gifted in things. Now, I just want to read with you a couple of the things that she just straight up said to me. And one of her gifts is just being straight up with you, because I need that sometimes. So one of the first things she said was this: you're not my clean king. I was like, okay, I can roll with that. We're getting real. That's fine. And then she goes, sometimes it can be a challenge for you to read the room. I was like, wow, we're laying it all out. This is going to be real good for our marriage. And then she also goes, oh, I know what gift you don't have. Doing the dishes. Good Lord, was the literal wording that she used. Another gift I don't have, your boy's not like a builder. Like, I'm not good at building stuff and fixing stuff. A couple weeks ago, my friend Juliana, she popped a tire, and my sister Allie was with her. And so Allie calls me. She's like, hey, Juliana popped a tire. We really need your help. And I'm thinking, like, yeah, let's go, big brother. Like, she called me to fix the situation. Like, this is good. In the back of my head, I'm thinking, I've never changed a tire in my life. So I'm not going to tell her that, but it's going to be awesome. And so we drive there, we get to where Juliana is, and I literally get out of the car, and Allie goes, oh, thank God you're here. By the way, I didn't call you because I knew you didn't know how to fix it. I called you because Taylor knew how to fix it. That's why she was there. So we learned how to fix the tire that day. You know what I'm saying? But I'll take this, though. In that conversation,
Taylor did share with me what I'm good at, what I'm gifted in when it comes to being married. And one of the things she said on FaceTime, I legit almost like kind of got teared up a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. She was like, you're just great at putting people over task, and like you're great at like encouraging me when I walk in, when I just want to do all these things, and you're good at hearing me and sitting with me. And then she goes, these last two I thought were funny. She goes, also, you slay the laundry and you slay a vacuum. And I was like, I'll take that. We're getting somewhere. You know what I mean? Like we're getting somewhere. Here's why I share that with you. Everybody's got different gifts, and that's okay. And here's the deal. Just because I may not be like gifted in doing the dishes doesn't mean I can't grow in doing those things. So as we look at spiritual gifts, just because you may not be gifted in something doesn't mean you shouldn't try to grow in something. Does that make sense? Just because you may not be gifted specifically in that thing doesn't mean you just need to throw that thing away and avoid that thing forever. So, how do I know then? Okay, if we know spiritual gifts are good, they're given by God, for the service of God, for the service of people, how do I know what spiritual gifts I have? And I think that there's some biblical principles that we can apply to our life that actually answer that question for us. And I think, how do I know what spiritual gifts I have? The first thing I would encourage you with is this. I want you to write this down. Just ask God to show you. Maybe you've heard of spiritual gifts before. Maybe you haven't. Maybe you're new to them. Maybe you kind of think you may know where you're gifted. Maybe you don't. That's okay. The best place to start is praying a prayer like this. God, would you just show me where I'm gifted? God, I think I may be gifted here, but I don't know. Would you bring clarity to that part of my life? Ask God to show you. The next thing I would encourage you to do is this. Take a spiritual gifts test. Now, I don't know if I would just go on Google and take any of the ones that I see. What's amazing about High Street is if you go through our starting point class, we actually help you take a spiritual gifts test. And there will be some available actually tonight at Next Steps for you. If you've never done that before, if you want to take that test and figure out where am I gifted, I would encourage you and challenge you to do that. Here's what I would say. As you're taking that test, be honest. Because it's going to ask you questions about your faith. It's going to ask you some questions about how you're wired, and you're going to rank them on a scale of, I do that all the time, and I don't do that often at all. I remember for me, the first time I ever really took a test like this, it was like in front of a group of people, and we were all taking the test together, and people were reading the prompts out loud, and one of the questions it asks, it was like, do you consider yourself a prayer warrior? And of course, everyone at the table is like, oh, absolutely we do. Yeah, and deep down, I'm like, dude, I don't know if that's me, bro. Like, I don't know. Even another prompt was like, whenever you make money, are you often prompted to give above your tithes and your offerings? And everyone at the table, of course, was like, oh, absolutely. But deep down, I'm convicted. I'm like, man, I don't know. I'm like surviving off $5 meal deals from McDonald's. Like I don't know. I would encourage you, when you take the test, be honest. Because God gifted you uniquely. We don't find out our spiritual gifts to impress people. We find them out so that we can serve God better. Not to impress someone else, but it's to serve God. So I would encourage you, take the test. Next thing I would encourage you to do, ask a friend. All throughout Scripture, it talks about the importance of good, godly friendships. After you take the test, I would ask a close friend that you trust, hey, do you see these giftings in me in my life? Is this matching up? Like, does this make sense? Or I would even ask this, do you see the potential of these gifts in my life? I would even encourage you too, if you can get a friend that's going to be honest enough with you, ask the friend this, would you help show me where I'm not gifted so I know what I need to grow in? Ask him, does this match, does this line up? And would you show me where I'm not gifted? And one of the last things I would encourage you to do is, how do I find this out? Get in the game. We have a ton of serve teams here at High Street. One of the best ways to find out what one of your spiritual gifts are is to start serving. Because you're going to see how God wired you in certain ways. You're going to see what you find joy in serving God. I'll ask you that. Where do you find joy in serving God the most? Where do you find joy? And here's what's awesome about the spiritual gifts test. Whenever you add up all your scores and see the test for yourself, on the back of the packet, it will give you a description of the gift, and then it will give you verses that match that gift, and then It will give you what team you should serve on based off what that gift is. And sometimes what's funny, some of those gifts, it tells you the teams that need you to serve on them. It literally just says all teams. All of them. Every single one. No matter what your gift is, there's a place for you to serve. No matter what it is. Could you imagine what would happen if a group of young adults took walking in their spiritual gifts, using those things to serve God seriously in their life? What do you think would happen? It would be amazing. You serving encourages people more than you know. There are people that have been at this church longer than you've probably been alive, and when they see you serving, that motivates them. That encourages them too. I would encourage you, get in the game. So, now we know, okay, spiritual gifts are good. They're from God for the service of God. Now we know, how do I kind of know maybe how to find out my spiritual gift? Next question I want to answer is this: how do I make the most of my spiritual gift? How do I use these in my life? How do I begin to walk in the spiritual gifts that God has given me? And I think the first thing that we got to do is this. I want you to write this down. Believe the gift. Super simple. Believe the gift. Because if we know God's the one that gives you the gift, what's going to help you walk in that confidence is if you actually believe that he gifted you in that thing. Believe the gift. And I just got to tell you too, look at me for a sec. God, he sees you. Like for real. He sees you. Where you're at, in your circumstances in life. He intentionally created you. He loves you. He wants you to walk in the fullness of walking with him and experiencing him grow and bloom these spiritual gifts in your life. He gifted you. He sees you. I want to read these verses to you. Psalm 139, starting in verse 13. Maybe you've read these before. I'm so encouraged by them. They read like this. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. Verse 14 says this. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. And if you got a highlighter or a pen, whatever you have, I want you to underline the full well part. I know that full well. Here's the thing. You can have a confidence that God gifted you uniquely. He gifted you on purpose. He's the one that gave it to you. And when you're walking with him, like this series, when you're walking by the Spirit, you can experience that to the fullest in your life. The second thing I would encourage you to do, how do I make the most of my spiritual gifts? Believe the gift, but also embrace the gift. Embrace the gift as well. What do I mean by that? 1 Corinthians 9, the guy that wrote 1 Corinthians 12, Paul, he encourages people to run their race and run to win. One of the best things you could do to help you run your race is embrace the giftings that God has given you in your life. Embrace them because he's given them to you on purpose. But one of the things in our life that can kill the gifts that we have is living in comparison. A real dangerous spot to be in. I know I found myself living in comparison too. Is we can see our spiritual gifts and then we can start to see other spiritual gifts and we can start to say things like this. Why don't I have that gift? We can start to look at other people serving and think, how come they have that gift and I don't? That's unfair. Why don't I have that? Why can't I have that gifting, God? Or it's the opposite way. We say things like, thank God I don't have that gift. And neither of them are a good spot to be in because everybody's got a role to play. And I just need you to know this too. God gave you the gift. God did not mess up when he gave you that spiritual gift. God didn't give you the wrong gift. It's like he was just looking at people and giving gifts and like, oh, I messed up on that one. How did I do that? No. Before you were even formed in your mother's womb, he knew you and he had a plan for your life and he sees you and he wants you to embrace the gift that he's giving you. One of the ways that that's going to kill the flourishing of the gift in your life is when you're trying to walk in the gifting of somebody else. God gave the gift to you, for the glory of him. So embrace the gift. Believe the gift, embrace the gift. Next thing I would encourage you to do is this: engage the gift. Engage in it. What do I mean by that? Use it. Walk in the gift. One of the areas of the Bible, and I would encourage you to read this later on your own, Romans 12. Romans 12 kind of gives a list of some of the spiritual gifts. And as it lists them, it says this: if you're gifted in speaking, speak well. If you are gifted in encouragement, encourage others well. If you're gifted in hospitality, be hospitable very, very well. God wants us to use these gifts well. That's also the best way to find out, again, where we're gifted and where we're not. Engage in the gift. Is there a gifting in your life that you've kind of been putting off a little bit? Is there maybe a serve team that you know of that you're like, I think they need help? Or maybe you just kind of felt for a while, I kind of think I need to serve. I don't fully know. What if you gave that gift back as a service to God? That's one of the best things you could do. That's the best thing to do when it comes to your spiritual gifts, is give that gifting back to God. He doesn't want you to live in a state of comparison all the time. He's given you your gifts on purpose to serve him, to help people in a way that you couldn't do on your own. And he doesn't want you to be confused about it. And he gave you the gift on purpose. Last thing I would encourage you to do: how do I use my spiritual gifts well? How do I make the most of them? Fourth one is this: ask God to ignite the gift. Ask God. We talked about at the beginning, asking God to show me, where am I gifted? I want clarity on this in my life. Last thing is this: ask him to ignite it. What do I mean by that? God, would you give me the desire for this gift? Because sometimes we can find ourselves in a spot where we may realize what our spiritual giftings are, and then we kind of get upset because we're like, I didn't really want that one. I wanted that one over there. I wanted the one that person has. So maybe for some of you, it really is just a real prayer to God, like, God, I need your help to give me a desire and a burden for this gift. For this gift. I want you to see Philippians 2:13. I want you to write that reference down. Philippians 2:13 says this: for God is working in you, giving you the desire and the power to do what pleases him. God's at work in your life through your giftings to help other people, to serve him. He's at work. He can help grow that desire in your life. He can help grow that burden in your life. I want you to read this verse. 1 Peter 4:10 says this: God has given each of you, talking to believers, a gift from his great variety of spiritual gifts. Use them well to serve one another. Use them well. Ask God, would you help me use this gift well? Because there's people in your family that need your gift. There's people in your spheres of influence that need your gifting. There's people that you go to school with every single day that need your gift. There's friends, there's family members that don't know Jesus that need your gift, that you can help serve them and that they can help know Jesus. He's given you the gifts. Use them well. Again, I don't know where God has gifted you. And whenever I took the spiritual gifts test, sometimes it'll like give you a top 3. And so my top 3 were serving, speaking, and pastoring. And I know sometimes in my life, honestly, I can find myself living the comparison game. Because some people have different gifts, and I'm so thankful for these gifts, but when I see people operate in different giftings, sometimes I'm tempted to think, gosh, I wish I had that one instead. When I see people operate in different giftings, I'm like, man, like, sometimes, God, the way you've gifted me, I don't like that sometimes. I wish I had that other gift. And I found myself kind of angry at God sometimes, and maybe you find yourself there too. Please remember, if you don't hear anything else, no, God did not mess up the way he gifted you. He didn't mess it up. He gifted you specifically, uniquely, because he sees you, and he's got a plan for your life. And when we live in comparison, or where we just try to stiff arm the spiritual gifts and not really walk in the Spirit, that doesn't lead to flourishing in our life. That honestly wears us out, makes us tired, and we don't get to step into the amazing plan and purpose that God has for us in our life. As I was thinking about spiritual gifts, my mind went to Matthew 5. It's called the Sermon on the Mount, and it's referred to as one of the greatest sermons of all time. And it's Jesus speaking, and he calls his disciples and followers of him, he refers to them as salt of the earth and light of the world. And what he was telling them, hey man, you have value to the people around you. You have the ability to be a light to the people around you, to show them the right way to go. And it made me think of an NBA team, the Sacramento Kings, and I don't know if they still do it, but one of the things that they used to do was for a while, I'll be honest, they sucked at basketball, and so they needed something to like help motivate their city, their fans, their players, and so what they would do was they started this thing called Light the Beam. I don't know if you've ever heard of this before. They called it Light the Beam, and what they would do is at every home game, the player that had the best game would go to this massive purple button at center court when the game was over, when they won. And they would walk over to the button, and all the fans, all of them would start chanting this, light the beam, light the beam, light, and the whole stadium's going crazy, and the player, boom, presses this button. Now here's what would happen. I want to show you a picture of what would happen every time they would light the beam. That's what would happen outside the stadium. This massive beam of light would shoot up outside the stadium. And as I was studying this, I just looked up, like, why did they start doing that? Like what did this help do? And someone high up in the Kings organization said this: the beam became a sign of victory, a visual stamp of joy, and you could see it for miles and miles and miles. What's crazy about Light the Beam is this: there's a lot of moving parts to make that moment at the end of a basketball game happen. There's players that trained for years to make it to the NBA. They put a jersey on, they put the shoes on, they got the ball in their hand, they stepped on the court, they made shots, they made passes, they dribbled. There's players, there's also fans that showed up to the game. They used their hard-earned money, they paid for a ticket, they showed up and they just screamed for 2 hours to encourage their team to play well. There's also someone that was gifted enough and smart enough to create a button that when you hit it, it shoots a beam of light up into the sky. There's people there that are working concessions to make the fans happy. There's security at a game like that. There's people that have to build that building so that people can sit in a stadium like that anyway. There's people that build parking lots so people can park so they can get to the stadium. They have to make a seat. There's refs that are reffing the game that make the game happen. There's a lot of moving parts to light the beam. Here's what's awesome though. Every part helped make that happen. The fans helped make it happen. They didn't even put a jersey on. The people that helped build that building, made it happen, they may not even been there. They're hidden away. No one may know them. Even though people weren't players, once they lit the beam, they felt the joy, they felt the victory, and they all felt like they were on the same team, on one mission, moving towards a common goal. And that's the same thing with our spiritual gifts. That's the same thing here. There's people in a production booth right now making this service happen. Without them, you don't see me and you don't hear me. Without people using the gifts and talents that God has given them to lead us in worship, we don't have moments like that where we get to worship in the presence of God. Without a young adults local staff team, there's no vision for this place. They love you, they pray for you, they care for this place. There's people that give up hours of their Tuesday night to run cameras here. There's people that give up hours of their Tuesday night to work security here. There are people at High Street that have been going here longer than we've been alive, that have been praying for a ministry like this, that may never get the credit ever. And they may feel hidden, they may feel unseen. There's a lot of things that help make this happen. There's a lot of things that help us light the beam. Because as we choose to do that every day, again, it's a visual sign of joy and victory. And man, how much more joy and victory do we have in Jesus than just people winning a basketball game? We got more. So I want to ask you, where do you need to get in the game? You're made for this. You can do it. There's a team that needs you, that needs your gift. There's people that need you, that need your gift. There's family members in your family right now that may not know Jesus. They need you. They need your gift. There's people at Missouri State, at Mission University, at Evangel, at SBU, at all these places here that need your gift. They need you. God didn't mess up when He made you. He didn't give you the wrong gift. And He wants to use it in your life to serve Him and serve people in a way that you couldn't do on your own. But the whole foundation of this, flourishing in these spiritual gifts, begins when you begin a relationship with the ultimate gift. And that's Jesus. He's the one that came here and lived a perfect life for you. He died for your sin. He died for the thing that you feel stuck in. He died for the thing that you feel like you can't feel freedom from. But He didn't just stay dead. He defeated death itself for you. He came to get you, to take you on an amazing plan and mission for your life. And walking by the Spirit, beginning to flourish, starts with starting a relationship with the ultimate gift. And that's Jesus. Because man, if we try to do this on our own, that just turns into natural talent. And God's good, and He's patient and kind, and He can use that. But what He's looking for is obedience. And for some of you, it's time to be obedient. Get in the game. Let's go. Light the beam every day. In this building and outside this building, people need your gift. And it all starts with Jesus. And so as we close, I'm going to ask you to bow your heads and close your eyes for a moment. And there's nothing like crazy magical or spiritual about a moment like that. What that does is it creates a space between you and God. And I know this to be true, is that God is here and God is speaking. And maybe you're in here and you've never heard before, like God sees you and He loves you and He's gifted you. And He wants to use you. And He wants to show you your spiritual gifts. And He wants to magnify those in your life. What if tonight you chose to surrender those gifts and give those back to God? Because He wants to use them. Maybe you're in here tonight, you're just struggling with how you view yourself. I'm not as good as that person. I'm not as gifted as that person. I can't speak. I can't do all these things. Again, comparison's a killer. And God wants to speak to you and use you because He's got a plan for you. And He wants to use the gifts in your life. And so, if you were to be honest tonight and you were to say, Isaac, I'm kind of struggling when it comes to my giftings. And Isaac, I'm struggling to believe that God can use me in my life. I know that's an honest question. And again, no one's looking around, just so I know who I'm talking to. If you were to say, Isaac, I'm struggling to believe God can use me in my life, would you just raise your hand in the air? Just so I know who I'm talking to. I'm struggling to see how God could use me. I see those hands. I see them. I appreciate your honesty. You can put your hands down. Man, if you put your hand in the air, you weren't the only one. Hands all over the room. And even if you didn't put your hand up, I need you to hear me right now. God has gifted you. He's with you. He sees you. And maybe you're in here and you hear me talk about how the starting point of that is to start a relationship with Jesus. That's where this whole thing begins. That's where flourishing in your life starts. It's starting a relationship with Him. And man, there's no better time right now than to put your faith and trust in Jesus. If you've never had a moment where you know that you know that you know, that's the moment I put my faith in Jesus. That's the moment I started a relationship with Jesus. And if you were to be honest, and maybe you were to say, Isaac, I need Jesus. Like, I need that relationship with Him right now. I need Jesus. If that's you, would you also put your hand in the air just so I know who I'm talking to? If you're like, Isaac, I need Jesus right now. I need him. I need him. I see those too. You can put those hands down. I appreciate your honesty. If that was you, here's what I want you to do. I'm going to pray. And as I pray, I want you to pray with me. And you don't have to pray the same words, because it's not about those. The gift of salvation is about your heart behind those words, turning from sin and turning to Jesus. This is where it starts. If you want to start a relationship with Jesus, I'm going to ask you to pray this. Jesus, I need you. I see how my sin can separate me from you. I see how it can separate me from walking in the fullness of my spiritual gifts. Would you forgive me? Would you make me new? Would you save me? Jesus, I give you my life. Man, if you did that, the best thing you could do is tell somebody. We want to celebrate with you like crazy. And we're about to enter into a time of response. There's going to be people down here. My challenge for you is this. What if you told somebody, I started a relationship with Jesus? Or what if you had questions and you said, hey, I don't know what that looks like. I want to know more. We'd love to help you with that too. So as we maintain an attitude of prayer, I'm going to ask you to stand just right where you are. Go ahead and stand. Stand all across the room. Still heads bowed, eyes closed as we enter into a time of response. And we do a time like this every Tuesday and every Sunday and Wednesday. And what could be real easy is just to already be thinking about how you're going to get out the door. But I know God's speaking to you. And maybe it's not spiritual gifts, but we know people have needs, and we want to pray over those too. We know people have struggles in their life, and we want to pray over those too. There was hands all across the room with needs. You're not alone in what you're going through. And so I'm going to pray, and as I pray, the leadership team's going to come up, the response team, and once I'm done praying, I'd encourage you, come find somebody. If you're nervous, nudge the person next to you. Hey, would you come pray with me? I got some stuff I need to talk to you about. Maybe you need to come down and pray, God, would you ignite my gift? Maybe you need to come pray, God, would you show me my giftings? Maybe you need to come pray, God, would you show me where I need to start serving and what team that needs to be on? One of the best things we could do is have a moment where we physically respond and go towards God. And that's what this moment is right now. And so I'm going to pray, and then we'll respond.